Sauce.
Hey, you like Pez?
It looks like that. Here's Heaney from the boundary line. He's an expert at these. From the boundary line!
Hello and welcome to Behind the Boundary podcast. I'm your host Pez. I'm here with Sauce. We've just had a massive week of footy with Gather Round and we're heading into round 6 now.
Yeah, huge success Gather Round. The AFL says that they reaped over $80 million profit for the next 3 years that they're projecting with the new deal and retaining it for the next 3 years. Maybe next year we should go up there and do a show up in the Gather.
Do a live show. Get all the
get some more listeners out there.
Yeah, get them all down because of the massive growth that we've had. Source over the thing. So welcome to all those new listeners wherever you found us on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, wherever at Behind the Bound.
It was good to gather around. It started off with Adelaide coming out absolutely torching Carlton in that first quarter, a 8-goal first quarter, first time that they've done that in almost their whole club history. But it was pretty remarkable with that success of that first game, how the rest of the round ended up kicking on, and it was a huge success. Really, really good to see some of those local footy grounds, Norwood Oval and Adelaide Hills, and we saw some great football. Yeah,
we saw some really good games, some really good runs from different teams, and to see some people in the crowd that, were able to travel there. A lot of people travelled from Victoria by driving, bus, plane, whatever it might have been. So there was actually big crowds across the weekend, which was a success, which is why Gil was on the phone during that last game just to try and get that locked in. So it makes money for the AFL, makes money for the city of Adelaide, and there's actually a reason to go to Adelaide once in the next 3 years, every 3 years.
It'd be good, and it comes down during school holidays, spend the Easter weekend. It's a good way to do it, I reckon. We'll book it in for next year, Pez, the show. We'll get a little live recording out front Norwood Oval.
Behind the Bound at Norwood Oval, the thin ground, so we could probably be where the wing would usually be on a normal ground.
Yeah, they're a nice little behind the boundary stand. I think that's easily attainable, especially with the weekend of winnings that we just had.
Oh, yeah, big round for behind the bound. There was a couple of interesting results where Gold Coast just fell away. They should have really won that game. Lukosius had a couple of set shots, and he's usually a beautiful kick, and he missed a few to absolutely put Fremantle away, and Fremantle just kept fighting and came with a 10-point win up there. So that was really good for Fremantle to keep their season alive.
What an absolute collapse, though, from Gold Coast. And, we talk quite often about Gold Coast and whereabouts they are in terms of their AFL trajectory, and if, their benchmark for them is just making finals, but a loss like that in that second half, realistically, you don't say it very often, but there was just no heart. They didn't. Everything just fell away quickly, and they're lucky that it didn't end up blowing out a little bit more because they escaped by 10-point loss, but it should have been. It could have been a lot worse.
Are they not fit enough or something? Because they keep falling away in games. And that's something that we might look at later in the bet slip as well. But Brisbane had a really easy day, comfortable win over North Melbourne. Sydney,
they had a sneaky 70-point win, but that could have been close to 200 points wins that second quarter.
Oh, North Melbourne started off really on fire, didn't they? So North Melbourne started well, but then Brisbane just kept going. It was possession city as well. Sydney were able to put Richmond away at the end. Richmond were just undermanned. They fought out, but they're really struggling there. The Bombers had a really big upset win, depending who you ask.
They beat no one.
Depending who you ask.
Well, so tell you what, that was we're not well received on TikTok with calling Essendon pretenders, but wow, they definitely with an impressive victory against a Melbourne side who a lot of people has the premiership favourites.
No, welcome to all those commenters that commented on that Essendon video that are now listening to the show. Obviously, I'm really glad that they made a lot of money by putting a lot of money on Essendon at $4 because they were very, very confident.
Very confident after the game.
Zero comments saying Essendon were going to win before the game, but after the result, they seemed to come to the forefront.
But you got to credit Essendon as well, the way that they've been playing. They've got Collingwood this week. It sets up a great Anzac Day a match. Both teams 4-1, and it's good for Essendon. It's good that they know that they have finals in sight. That they possibly will get their first finals victory since I think I was about 12 years old. So
they'll be ready to be disappointed again and still not having a finals win since 2004. But
the streak continues.
Their ruckman is what really got them going in that first half, with 5 goals between them, where Brodie Grundy was in no man's land and couldn't defend them. So Essendon ended up winning by 27 points. So absolutely kudos to them winning over there, and they're expecting big things, the Essendon fans, on Tuesday for Anzac Day.
Yeah, they better respond. See if they, because I mean, if they beat Collingwood, and then that's 2 massive AFL.
Beat Collingwood, end the season. That's it.
That season's done.
Yeah, give them the premiership, might as well.
Yeah, a week after the gather round, we're just calling it quits. But yeah, very impressive for Essendon, and it wasn't like Melbourne struggled or anything. They just were just disappointing. And Essendon really took control of it.
Their skills were really poor, but Essendon's pressure was up.
Yeah, they
really
created
well, so
they created the pressure.
They created it. So if they can keep that effort up, Brad Scott's had a good start there with 4-1. So we'll see how the Bombers continue to go. The Bulldogs were in a winning position before Todd Marshall kicked a couple of crucial set shot goals. So the sharpshooter over at Port Adelaide.
Our man Todd Marshall. Remember we used to rave on about Todd Marshall? We used to love him. And
a few years back,
we're on him every week for a goal. He was sitting about $2.10 for one goal.
We've
definitely fallen him off, and now he's $1.03.
The Sunday games, the Geelong Cats, they struggled early as well. The first half of the quarter, West Coast were actually playing well, and then they just went bang that second quarter, and then didn't have to play for the rest of the game.
The Geelong skills just look so terrible at the moment, and West Coast actually applied a lot of pressure. They controlled a lot of the pill early, but obviously the talent fell away quite quickly, as well as the fatigue from some of those younger players for West Coast. But Geelong have got a really big test this week playing Sydney. It's going to be an interesting week.
Yeah, they could have, if they kept the effort up, they could have easily won by over 100 points. But it's obviously, we don't want to exert ourselves too much. We've already won the game. And
just in second gear,
it got really close to the line at the end there, 47, because the line before the game was 52. So those people that backed
it
Cats at
definitely
the line,
pushed out. We said it was, I think, the start of the week it was about 40, 44,
yeah, I
think it was
40, 41, yeah. So the next one, GWS, wasn't that a game with Himmelberg, the hero, at both ends at the end of the game?
How does a game go 3 quarters of no scoring and then a fourth quarter just open up, back and forth goals? In the last 2 minutes, there was like 4 goals kicked. It was great. So some big contested marks from both ends, and Hawthorn on that last play, they looked like they were going to kick that winning goal.
Yeah, boom, for 50.
Yeah, but great ball movement.
Oh, it was a good game with 2 teams that are rebuilding at the bottom of the ladder. And Hawthorn could have stolen one, but it's probably better for them in the long run because they'll get to be right at the bottom.
A little bit closer to that number 1 pick.
Yep, to get that number 1 pick. So it was a good loss for them if you look at it in that way. And then we finished off with Collingwood St Kilda, which was a really defensive game.
It was a good loss in the end by St Kilda because they kept it close in that last quarter, but realistically it was about a 3-goal victory to the Magpies.
Well, it was definitely expected, but Magpies are up by about 4 goals and St Kilda got 3 pretty cheap goals towards the end of the game to make it look a lot closer than it actually was. So
it's a good benchmark for St Kilda to see where they're actually at, because Collingwood, definitely one of the genuine contenders, and St Kilda, sitting top of the ladder after round 5, and not many teams have not made finals. Pez, what was the stat you said to me in the pre-show?
Yeah, since 76, since it went from expanded from a top 4 finalists, no team has ever missed the finals. So St Kilda can be the first team to do that. That'd be great.
After being at the top of the tables at round 5 to miss the 8. We know we're in the it's not very often you get to make history, so it's good that St Kilda can be a part of that.
Yeah, we'll always make history, the bottom end of it. But speaking of which, I'm really confused because it's a Friday afternoon here, which we don't usually record on a Friday. Sauce, what's going on?
Yeah, what are the AFL doing? Well, why they did this last year as well? The first 6 weeks of the season, Thursday night footy, you get excited. You have 5 days of footy basically. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's only 4 days. But this week, obviously, with the Anzac Day, you can understand why they may be going, not having a Thursday night game because they don't want to stretch it out too much. But then you look at the AFL fixture. Next 6 weeks, Pez, no Thursday night footy. What the hell?
I don't know. Is it daylight savings just happened? I don't know. Is it too dark to play footy?
Too dark to play footy. That's the most ridiculous
I'm trying
thing
to think of some form of excuse because Thursday night I was stuck on the couch watching the NRL last night, which I wouldn't have been doing. And I think a lot of AFL fans or a lot of sport fans actually did tune into the NRL last night, the Rabbitohs and the Panthers, because there was not much else on. And I think the AFL really lost a big viewership on the Thursday night.
I just don't get it, Pez. It was an easy victory last night for the NRL because, as you said, I watched it. I had a couple of, threw a couple of bucks on the bunnies to have a little bit of keep the game close. But why is the AFL continually giving us this great spectacle Thursday night. You know, their marquee game, they open the season on a Thursday night.
The crowd numbers haven't been down.
But then after week 5, it's like, oh, we're not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
All you need to do is you need to rotate where Thursday night's played. So you don't want to play it in Melbourne every week.
Yeah, don't play it in Melbourne every week.
Yeah. Play it in Adelaide some weeks, play it over in Perth some weeks, play it up at Brisbane. It works really well. So
you could get a couple of good, you know, like if you made Thursday night, for example, after week 6 or whatever it is, when obviously the Victorian fans are getting a little bit sick of it. So then you have your rolling, you know, your showdowns, for example. You have your Adelaide versus Port Adelaide on a Thursday night. Boom, packed house. You do your Brisbane versus Gold Coast. 90% of the people would be there for that. But do you know what I mean? Like, there's ways to manipulate the fixture and who plays who that you can still get crowd numbers there.
I think it's proven that crowd numbers are still showing up on a Thursday
But that
night.
has to be the only reason that they're doing it. Has to be.
Why would they not do it? Because you're going to get high viewership as well wherever you are. So we love Thursday night footy here at Behind the Bound. We've said that a long time. It does make it a little bit trickier for us not knowing the teams when we place our bets and things like that. But we do love sitting down on a Thursday night, end of the week, end of the working week, pretty much, because you've only got that one day to go, and then it's early knockoff on Friday.
Yeah, I mean, early knock-off on the Friday. I mean, not for everyone, Pez.
No.
Some people have full-time job, but we can't just have the flexibility of not working Thursday or Friday. But, you know, as you said, watching Thursday night footy, like yesterday, it feels like a weekend. You're sitting there, you have a couple of beers on the Thursday night, watch the footy. Friday at the water cooler, you're talking footy, you're talking about last night's game and the Friday night game. It's the way to do it, AFL. Get your act together.
Yeah, get your act together. We'll get our act together, and we'll review round 5.
Soft review. It's no official review. How does it end? We don't know. They've kind of lost, but they've won as well.
And here we are, Sauce. Massive weekend for
Huge.
Behind the Boundary here with some really great bets and some positive returns, which we'll go through each individual one. And at the start of the week, Sauce, there doesn't seem to be many bets on our spreadsheet where you can get at Behind the Bound on Twitter. But by the end of the round, when you add all your little same-game multis and you might get a bonus back and put the bets on it, it seems to get longer and longer as the round goes on. So there's a value to be had all throughout the round 6 as well.
Definitely, Pez. And last week it was I was very excited. On about Saturday afternoon, you and I were messaging back and forth. Very, very excited to talk about our bet slip because, you know, like we talked about earlier, Pez, the comeback story is so much better when you're down so much more. And not what we're trying to aim to lose, but coming into profit, round 5, setting us up for the rest of the season, it's a good place to start.
Yeah, a disappointing start, and it comes down to a few results, and you've made the wrong call. But it's a long-term game, and we're trying to get profit long-term, which we've proven over the last 5 years with both turning over profit every single season. So let's do the same here. We started with Adelaide and Carlton, and I had a couple of bets in this one. Completely read it wrong because Carlton ended up losing by 56 points, and I had them at the line, which I lost a unit on there. I also had a bonus bet on them from Ladbrokes, which needed them to win by a goal, so lost that one there. And then I had to get a bonus back because I had Bo Keys for 15, Cherry for 20, and Dawson for 20. All got up nice and easy, and had Carlton plus 18.5. I thought, you know what? If they're going to lose, they're not going to lose by more than 3 goals, and they got smashed. So
absolutely smashed.
Had to get a bonus and win that back later in the week.
Yeah, well, I had 2 games. I actually said to you, Pez, I said I think Adelaide is the bet in this game. You can gather around and all that, but I didn't put my money where my mouth was, which would have been good because you were excited about going head-to-head.
Yeah, it would have been nice. Guarantees a win.
Oh, I mean, I got an extra tip. And that's about it. But I had Isaac Rankine 3+ goals, and he looked absolutely on fire kicking
in the first
minute. And then he was not to be seen for the rest of the game, basically. So that was a bonus bet. That lost. And then I had a 3-leg same-game multi. I had 20 disposals for Sard. He scraped in with that one. I had Rory Sloane, and I think I was on the wrong person there, Pez. I should have been on Dawson.
You were on Dawson.
I was on Dawson for 20, but I should have been on him for 20 and then him for 30 because he absolutely ripped it apart. So 1 leg fails. I get my money back in a bonus bet I've got a 2-unit bonus bet that I'm going to place this week.
Oh, very nice. Now, I'm just going to go over my mixed multi that I had as a bonus at Ladbrokes. It was paying 205, so I needed Adelaide Carlton to be over 142. It was. I needed Brisbane and North Melbourne to be over 132. It was. Brisbane to win. Essendon and Melbourne over 123, and then Geelong a race to 6 goals. So that paid 205, so a lot of legs to get around, but pretty much all guaranteed and all won really easily. So I got that stake back from the week before.
Right, Pez, on to the where my weekend really started, Pez, was the Friday night game, Fremantle versus Gold Coast. And you gave me a little bit of flack last week on TikTok, as well as obviously in the
I
studio.
didn't give you any flack on TikTok. I don't comment on that.
You did, Pez. The video's up there. In the studio, you give me a whole lot of grief. I said that it would be a high-scoring game. I had over 157.5. That got up very, very easily, even despite the weather. I kept hearing that all week.
Yeah.
Oh, the weather.
Despite the first half of the
the
game, and we'll end on a positive. So we'll start with my negative, because I had under 178, and I'm feeling good 15 minutes into the game because there's only a couple of goals kicked.
I told you.
Then it just goes bang, 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 bang. And I had Fremantle to win as well in that, but it didn't happen. So I got a bonus bet back for that because, as I said, the only reason I put the bet on is because you get a guaranteed bonus bet back if any legs lose. So that was my one, lost the under, so I'll try and win that back later.
Lost the under, and we already spoke about the over with the over 157, so that hit Pez. And I was out. I was actually at a comedy show. I was watching a mate of mine, Luke Benson. Make sure you go check him out with the remaining 3 days of the comedy festival, but he was quite good. And I messaged you just beforehand because we were in the pub watching it, and I'm like, I'm going back and forth about the over this, whatever. And, Anderson has a couple of, not shots at goal, but he was racking up the footy a lot. So then we were talking about it. And then I went into the comedy, and my phone's going nuts. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm thinking, oh, geez, he's either kicked one or he's broken his leg or something, and you'll just absolutely give me flack. I get
Bloody
it
weren't
there.
responding to me. I didn't know what was going on.
2 goals at $3.30. I had 2 units on it, Pez. A huge profit of 4.6 units. So love and life.
And if he hadn't kicked his first one, his second goal was like a snap from the boundary line. Like it was a check side. It was an amazing
Went back
goal.
and watched it. I watched it a couple of times, actually. It was nice.
How good. So Noah Anderson came through for you. Two units on it with the sports bet. It didn't need the no special there because it's just profit city.
I told you that last week. Doesn't matter if all my legs lose.
4.6 unit profit on that game. So that was absolutely huge on that Fremantle Gold Coast. And then we move on. You had the Richmond and Sydney game as well.
Yeah, I did. And I was watching this one. And as I said, we were out and about. So as I was getting home in half time, I had Callum Mills for 20 disposals. He got that. Jack Rewalt, he kicked those 2 goals pretty early on. So I was loving life. And I was just sitting there with Rioli. And it got into goes into the last quarter. I think he was about 13 disposals.
Yeah, I think they took one off him as well at 3/4 time.
Actually, you are right too. It went down to like 12. Yeah, that's right. And then there was about 5 minutes to go, and he needed 6.
I reckon he got 5 in a minute.
He got like 5 in a minute. It was so good. I was sitting there in the Uber on the way back, Pez, watching. My girlfriend wasn't very happy with the thing. She's like, "Why are you watching? The game's dead." And I'm like, "I need this guy here to get 5 more touches." Boom, boom, boom.
Your missus paying you to mention her or something, is she?
No.
The amount of mentions she's got.
Well, last
couple of weeks.
I'm just going to see if she's listening. That's what it is. I'm going to put some little trivia out there, little Easter eggs, and see if she's actually listening. But either way, Pez, it was Easter eggs for me, all the chocolates, because I got another 2-unit win, Pez, 3.74 this time. So on Friday night, I was up, 8.2 units. 8.3
don't try and do
units.
quick maths, mate, but 287
Wasn't quick at all.
287 hit is really, really good.
And then my whole weekend was set, Pez. All the rest of my bets could lose, which they did, and I was still up in the profit.
Yep, yeah, and it was Friday night, you say. So Richmond, Sydney, I threw out
still got a whole other weekend, 4 days of footy to go.
I threw out a live bet, and only because it was the 12-up special on Neds, and it's the only thing that offered, because I was going to put it on Fremantle earlier, and I didn't have time to do that before that game actually started. So the Sydney $1.60, 2 units, profited 1.2 units, and then we head into Sunday.
We head into the
Saturday.
We head into the Saturday, and I didn't have anything down on the Saturday, Pez. I did have a couple of multis. So I had Sydney, who the night before got up in the game against Richmond. I had Melbourne minus 23.5, Pez. That didn't get up, and I had Geelong minus 43.5, Pez. So I had no Saturday bets. Did you have any Saturday bets?
Yeah. So Essendon, Melbourne, the big clash that we spoke about before, where Essendon ended up winning by 27 points. So I had Melbourne minus 22.5, and I think 95% of tippers tipped Melbourne to win, but 99% of comments we got on TikTok actually bet on Essendon, bet their house on Essendon to win. So we've got a lot of rich Essendon fans around.
That's why they live in Essendon, Pez.
So my 1 unit lost there, and I tried to sneak a bonus bet with the over 113 and Melbourne plus 25, but it missed out by 1.5 points to get a bonus bet back there. But that's not what really hurt me. What really hurt me was I had a little bet down, and it was in the Brisbane North Melbourne game. I had a multi, but I mixed it with another game as well. So I had Lockie Neal over 28.5 disposals. Shoot it in easy. 20 disposals for Sheasel, who went off injured at 19, and I thought, oh, this is in trouble, but he came on and killed it. Dunkley as well for 20, and 15 for Will Ashcroft. Now, after that, I just decided to add in, a couple of legs because I thought, Melbourne to lead at 3/4 time and Melbourne ML puts the odds up something shocking, and it went up to 378. So after the Brisbane game, I'm feeling really good because I'm like, have a look at this. I've got 2.78 units coming back in, and it didn't happen because Melbourne just fell away and Essendon were too good. So that's the bet that hurt a lot more than the 1 unit on the Melbourne line.
Yeah, the Melbourne line absolutely killed me as well, Pez. We had Melbourne to the just the money line in one of my multis, and then the bonus multi that I put down from the week before. I had Geelong minus 28.5, which they got the job done pretty easy. But Melbourne minus 14.5, and they were one of the obviously the shorter sort of price favourites last week. But as you said, them playing away from the MCG really helped Essendon. And I wish all these Essendon supporters would have given us the hot tip beforehand, and I would have adjusted my bet.
Let us know before, please, because then we can make some money along with you as well. But Geelong West Coast, this was another one, and this is what I spoke about on the show last week, Sauce. But because it was so far away, we couldn't get it out there on TikTok. But it's always up on Twitter at Behind the Bound. I had Geelong. I put a bonus bet on it. Over 121 or more points, and that was done by 3/4 time. So
you gotta love that. You gotta love it. Love a three quarter, bet where by the third quarter you're sitting there counting your dollars. You love that.
It was really good. And then I did a Ladbrokes one as well. Chucked 2 units on this. So I did Geelong over 110.5 because I spoke about teams against West Coast and their line, what it's going to be. I made the money on Melbourne the week before and made the money here on Geelong. And if I decided to do Geelong's line at minus 52.5, I would have lost. So that was much better value, obviously, because results-orientated business and more than 16.5 goals. So I just chucked that in there because if they didn't kick 17 goals, Sauce, they were going to struggle to get 111 points.
It was a very good bet, Pez. We spoke about this before the show, and before you put the bet down live out on Twitter, and it's a great bet. You're right. That over the goals is where the money's at because you're right. The line towards the end of the game, we see a lot. That fourth quarter, the backdoor cover happens quite often. So those big lines you've got to be careful of because anything plus 40, the queues go in the rack. They already start to look the next week. They start to rest people throughout the game so they don't want to get injuries, and that's going to happen a lot against West Coast. So that halftime line, that third quarter cover, that's where your money's at. But that fourth cover, just be really wary.
Yeah, we'll speak about it with Port Adelaide West Coast coming up. But that does me for the round. Is that you for the round as well?
The only one I had, Pez, was I spoke about it last week about the anytime goal scorer for Jeremy Cameron kicking a goal in every quarter, and up until last week he'd done 16 out of the 17 quarters. So was it 16 out of the 17? 15 out of the 16 quarters. But last week SD ruggled in the first quarter, and right on the first quarter siren. Front on contact, and I was
in the goal square.
I'm in the car screaming, sitting there and watching in the car park
because he was nowhere to be seen at the start of that quarter.
No, nowhere. He was heaps to be seen in the second quarter.
4 goals,
and we spoke last week about the value being at 4 goals, and if you'd gone any higher, you would have been filthy as well because 4 in the second quarter, and then didn't get any for the rest of the game.
I was actually thinking you picked the wrong bloke because Hawkins looked like he was going to get it. He kicked a goal in every quarter. He kicked 2 in the second or third as well. And then he hardly touched the footy in the last quarter as the queue in the rack went away and
that's the thing,
the thing came in. So that's why it actually pays a lot more, and it's a little bit of a riskier bet. So $6.50.
Tell you what, though, Pez,
what are you going to do?
You said it to me. It's a fun bet to follow, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Even though it only lasted a quarter for us, but
obviously if he hits it in the first quarter and then he hits it in the second, that third quarter, it's so much fun watching. Every time he's near the ball, and it gives that little bit of extra interest.
Jezzacam,
not Gaz. Jez.
Round 5 results. I staked 8 units in the end, Sauce, and had a profit of 2.45 units with a ROI of 30.6%. So I was very happy with round 5.
Yeah, me too, Pez. I had staked 8 for the round and returned 4.34 units. The biggest unit wins of the year for the show for me. 54.25 my return on investment. So for the year, I've staked 33 units and returned 35 point. No, I haven't returned 35.8. So in total, I've got 35.8, but a 2.80 return on profit. So
look at you, Profit City over here.
We're all in the green, all in the green.
And after my round 3, when I had a lot riding on Geelong v Gold Coast, I've staked 37 units for the season, and I'm down 2.11 units, so down 5.7% Sauce. So struggling. Last 2 weeks have been very profitable, and I want to continue that in round 6 and get in the green.
Yeah, we definitely will. Let's get straight into the bets at Pez.
The fact that the size of the bets was relatively small.
Now Bex with an opportunity about 50 metres.
is out.
I was with a mate, and we were getting sort of ready to leave, and he said, I think I'm going to whack 10 on Maxi. Do you want some as well? And I said,
Oh, yes! Yes! Yes!
Straight into the bet slip, but not before we do the specials.
Cyril takes a special and goes bang!
Yeah, and as we know, when it gets to round 5, round 6, the specials kind of died down because they're trying to get everyone involved at the start of the season, Sauce. So Sportsbet have only got the Friday night game, which is tonight, Fremantle versus Bulldogs for the same game multi. So you got to have a go at that. Bonus bet back up to $50. You got to have $2 odds on that. Tab have 3+ leg same game multi, 1 leg fails, but they've also got 5+ leg same game multi, and up to 2 legs can fail, and you get a bonus back. So I've actually taken advantage of that this week, so stay tuned for that. Ladbrokes have the same game multi as well, the 3+ legs, 1 refund per day. So just be aware of that. If you already got a refund in an earlier game on a Saturday, you can't get one again from Ladbrokes. So if that was the thing taking you over the line to bet that, just be aware of that. Neds have the 12-point plus halftime head-to-head early payout in tonight's game as well. And at Bluebet, I'm disappointed they got rid of the 12 plus for every game at halftime, but they've got Anzac Day 2 for 1. Now, betting on best on ground or Anzac Day medal isn't very good for long-term profit because it's very hard to actually profit on. But $3 for either Nick Dacos or Darcy Parish, one of them two, to win the Anzac medal. And if the Bombers don't tag Dacos, he had 42 last week. He's been playing really well. So $3 for that. I'm not sure. I'm not going to take it. But if you are well inclined to do that and have a bit of a punt, there it is.
It's one of those ones that the only way to make money is to put the bet on mid-game, and hope
live betting.
Live betting is the only way.
Norm Smith medal.
Yeah, that's the only way to really make some money on it, because to put a best on, you're relying on so many factors, not just disposals or goals. There's a range of different things, big moments, key moments, and one moment in the fourth quarter, back-to-back goals or something like that can swing the result instantly, despite them probably not being the best on ground. So be wary with that one, Pez. But it's going to be a big round of footy, Pez, despite there not being any Thursday night footy. So we start things off on the Friday night game between, which I think will be an absolute cracker. Fremantle taking on the Western Bulldogs. $1.80 favourites are the Dockers, $2 outsiders, the Doggies. -2.5 is the line. Over under 164.5.
Yeah, I was quite impressed with the Bulldogs over the 3 quarters last week away from home against Port Adelaide, and they just fell away in that fourth quarter. They were really good in the centre of the ground, and for some reason Bontempelli moved forward and Tim English wasn't involved in the centre bounces, so I wasn't sure if there was a niggling injury or they needed a rest.
Just bad coaching. Beveridge does that all the time. He wants to experiment with the markers all the time.
English and Bontempelli, to move them out when they were dominating, it just didn't make any sense. They curtailed Jack McRae. Libba did all he could, but as we said, Marshall was able to get them over the line. So over there, Fremantle have a really good chance to come back and try and salvage their season. But the Bulldogs really need to win as well. So it's a really hot contested game of footy tonight. And what I've done is I've just gone a sports bet same game multi, because you have to have a go at it. If it does fail, just 1 leg, 2 legs, doesn't matter.
All legs, Pez.
I'll get a bonus bet back, which I will try and win back as well. So I'll put Jack McRae to get 25 plus. It's a wide open space over there at Optus, and the wingers seem to get a lot of footy their Sauce, and he's at $1.42 to do that. He missed out last week, but he was on track at 3/4 time. So I think they'll use McRae a lot on the outside. He's missed twice this year. Yeah, round 4 against Richmond and round 5 against Port Adelaide. Both of those games involved a bit of wetness, a bit of rain. So hoping for that to hold off and McRae to get his 25 plus. This next player, this next leg, this is one that's really interesting. So James Aish, okay, he's got, and this is in order of rounds, 18 disposals, 29, 31, 17 and 16 last week. Now, the 2 spikes there, 29 and 31, both games at Optus Stadium, Sauce. So they used him a lot on the outside as well. So I've got him down to get 20 plus. It's a little bit of a value bet because it's up at $1.74. What I really do like, I really like him for 15 plus if you're well inclined to put that in your multis, but I've gone for a bit of a punt. $1.74, James Aish 20 plus. And I've just added in under 190.5. Usually night games over at Optus Stadium don't go over 190, over 200 points. So I've just put that in to boost it up a little bit, and that gets 262. If I didn't put that in, It's about $2.30 with just the two disposal players. Both sides have not gone over 190 in the last three games played at this ground. It's been 133, 158, and then the last one, 118. So it's been well off.
Well off, Pez. And, obviously you're thinking that Fremantle are going to win this game. Is that the sort of way your bet's going? Or
Look, if it was with the 12-up special and I had to put a unit on it, I'd be punting on the Dogs to win.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's very interesting. I mean, I think that is really interesting, actually, because I actually think that this is a must-win for both teams. I think that it's a really tough spot for the Dogs. Coming back from Adelaide last week, they've got to travel over to Perth again this week. It's the 7-day break, obviously, but you put in there the travel time as well. Fremantle, they have won 7 of the last 9 against the Dogs at home, and the Dockers are 9-5 at home over the past 2 seasons. The Dogs away from home the last 2 seasons, 6-9. So they're not a very good travelling side. We know that they've had some big famous victories over at Optus Stadium or SBS Stadium or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, this is where we are.
But I've gone a 3-leg same game multi. I think Fremantle get the job done here. I've gone 3 legs, and I think it's going to be controlled mostly in that sort of middle, and then I've put a Dogs player in that sort of back line coming off the back. So I've gone Jago Miro to get 15 or more. 26. He's done it 23 times out of the last 26 and 9 of the last 10. I've got Jordan Clark to get 15. He's done it 26 out of the last 29 and 10 of the last 10. Both of those players, if you look at Sportsbet's disposals today, 18.5. So that's roughly where their over-under line is. So they should get those. And my probably riskier leg is Caleb Daniel to get 20 or more disposals. So coming off that back line, he's done it 18 of the last 24 and 8 out of the last 10. But I think that the way that Fremantle shut down the game, the Doggies are going to have to be a little bit cautious. He's an excellent kicker of the footy. We know they're going to be travelling the ball by foot. I believe he gets the job done. So 2 units, $2.05 with Sportsbet special.
Yeah, you take that if you need to do that. But I think Alex Keith as well, to add on to my point about the Bulldogs, I think that tips me over the line to actually tip the Dogs, because I think he shores up their defence really well.
Okay, interesting. I don't mind your James Ace tip there as well, Pez. Looking through Sportsbet there, to him to get 20, his line is at 21.5. So if you what you say $1.74 he was for 20?
Yeah, so 15. I don't have it off the top what he is, but to get 15 disposal, I think is really good value to put that in a multi if you can make it $2 and get the bonus special with it.
Especially with Sportsbet, you have a bit of a play with it, Pez, because as we've talked about many times, that it's a free hit basically, because you just have to. I mean, you put a bet down and you don't get it, then he's $1.14 he is for 15 or more disposal. So
he's gone down since
he's gone down a heap.
Yeah, he was $1.23 or something.
But you put him in there with one other risky one, it brings it up about $1.80. Put him in there with either of the teams to win, and you're over that $2 mark, so you're loving it.
All I'm going off is those 2 games at Optus Stadium this year, 29 and 31. Wide open space. He's got more space to move. That's why they give him the footy, and hopefully that happens for me tonight.
Hopefully it does, Pez, for the podcast. We can start the Friday night victory and set our round up. All right, let's get into the Saturday afternoon game. Port Adelaide taking on West Coast. $1.05 favourites are Port Adelaide, the shortest of the round. $9.50 West Coast. And as we spoke about, Pez, this line has reached out a little bit. 51.5 it's at already.
Bigger than what Geelong's line were against them last week.
Port Adelaide are front runners.
Yeah, so Port Adelaide at home again. I've said for the last 2 weeks, look at the line of the team that is playing West Coast, and the line, I found the best one, which was 114.5, sitting at $1.89 at Bet365. Other bookies had it at 115 when I was having a look last night, Sauce. So
at what the
team total points for
team
Port
total
Adelaide.
Points, yep.
So just Port Adelaide.
I thought you were talking about the line. I'm like, 115,
no.
That's a terrible line.
So,
don't jump on that.
So I'm not going to go there, because I can't really trust Port Adelaide to, put the foot to the throat and continue to do that to West Coast here. But what I am going to do is I'm going to have a look at a player to kick multiple goals, because it happens a lot against West Coast. And we had 3 Geelong players kick 4+ goals last week. So I'm looking at 2 players, obviously. You've got Marshall and you've got Finlayson, and Dixon is out. So it helps both of them to kick multiple goals.
All over our man Marshall. I hope you're all over Marshall.
No,
please.
I'm not. I'm going away from him because
Disgrace.
his odds are a lot better than Finlayson, but I think Finlayson can get the job done. He's played 89 games and 16 times he's kicked 3 or more in those 89 games. Last time they played against West Coast, both Marshall and Finlayson both kicked 5.
Yeah.
So it was a massive win. As I said, no Dixon. Forwards have to take advantage. I've gone Finlayson to kick 3+ goals, $2.50. But I haven't just gone that by itself because I want a little bit of insurance. So I've gone with Ladbrokes, the bonus special, 3+ legs. So the other leg I've put in is Finlayson anytime goal scorer and Port Adelaide to win, which I think will happen.
Yep.
Both $1.06, $1.05. But the only reason I've put them in there is just to get that little insurance. So if Finlayson kicks 1 or 2 and Port Adelaide win, I'll definitely get a bonus bet. But if he kicks 3+ and Port Adelaide win, that's where I get it. And it sits at $2.64. So it pushes it up a little bit, and I'm happy with that one.
Yeah, you would be, Pez. That's a nice little bet to
Finlayson watch.
Finlayson watch. I'm a bit disappointed you haven't gone with Marshall though. Our man Marshall.
It seemed too easy to have a look at that.
Oh, it seems too easy to win.
Just
does
got
it?
a little. No, I've got a little bit of feeling maybe he won't be the main target, but we'll see.
We'll see. I agree. I think Port Adelaide are front runners, definitely. I like what you were saying about the line. They both last couple of times that they've beaten West Coast, they've just smashed the line in, and the last couple of times they've been no good. And Port Adelaide, they've hit a nice little patch since they played the Swans. They've got a little bit of a soft draw coming into a tougher draw. They need to get these wins. I think in 2 weeks they play the Saints, and that's where the test will start to happen. They need to get the reps under the leg. I've gone a 3-leg same game multi. Dan Houston, he was incredible last week. He had 15 or more disposals. He'll get that pretty easy. Pairs last 10, he's missed it once, and that one time was 14. Up until then, 25 the last 26. So absolutely gets that money for jam every time. And then I've also gone Ryan Burton to get 15. He takes 70% of their kick-ins, Pez. And I think West Coast, watching them last week, they rushed that ball going to that forward line. They've only got really Oscar Allen as that main sort of target there. I think they can actually get, he can get a lot of those, a lot of the kick-ins. 70% of the time, as I said, he takes it. But 100% of the time he plays on and he gets an easy little free little touch. So him to get 15 or more, Pez, he sits about $1.30 on its own. So that's brilliant sort of money for me. And then I've gone the alternate handicap, minus 35.5. So I think that Port Adelaide get the job done. They probably push over that 40 mark. We do talk about that last quarter being a little bit wary with that line coming in. That's why I shortened the line from 50 down to 35 and give myself about 15 points to play with. $2.16 with Neds, 1 unit on that one, Pez.
There you go. All right, well, you can take that. And what's the weight under the leg? Are you doing deadlifts or something?
What's that?
You said something about the weight under the leg.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
The weight under the leg?
Yeah. Before you started speaking about Dan Houston, I didn't want to interrupt you, but...
I don't know what you're talking about, did I?
Yeah, that's what you said. So I'm just wondering what it means. Deadlifts, just say deadlifts.
Yeah, deadlifts. That's exactly what I mean. The weight under the leg, like weight under the leg. Like I don't know.
Yeah, it was a weird one. So I had to just ask.
Thanks for pointing it out. Make me look absolutely stupid.
Or else I would have forgotten about it.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks.
Twilight Saturday.
Yeah, cool. Jesus. All right, let's get on to GWS taking on Brisbane. Brisbane will want to get their weight under the leg for the next game. $1.32 favourites are the Lions. GWS coming in outsiders $3.30. Minus 20.5 is the line. Over under 172.5 pairs. I'm not going to try and make my conversation any more engaging. You can put a little acronyms or not acronyms, sorry, little anecdotes in there. I'm just going to let you talk, Pez. Tell us how the Lions get the job done against the Giants.
Yeah, well, they should get the job done. The Giants are going to try their best to compete for as long as they can. Brisbane about $1.30, so if you're going to have them, in some form of multi, you can do that. I think Lockie Neal is a little bit of value at $3.40 for most disposals because GWS do give a lot away to star midfielders.
Well, not only that, they're the 17th team for clearances, and Brisbane are the top team for clearances. Yeah, so they polar opposites. And Lockie Neal, I think he had 11 last week clearances, and he'll dominate this week.
Yeah, so $3.40. I'd expect it to be $3 or $2.90 or something like that. So there's something around there if you wanted to have a look at that. I haven't put anything down because Brisbane, looking at the goal kickers, they're a very hard team to do. They've got a lot of players sitting at the $7, $9, $14, but it's so hard to pick who's going to fire that day. So I've stayed away from it for this game, and I possibly might put something out when the over-under markets are released because you got players like Lockie Neal, like Will Ashcroft, who are going to be in the middle. You got Dunkley as well, who... This might be a possession city game, but I want those markets to be out before I do anything. Yeah,
so you're holding there, but you're probably looking for a disposals sort of play? Or?
Yeah, I just want the individual player over-under markets to be out because on Sportsbet at the moment, it's just, 15 plus 20 plus 25. I want the individual 28.5s and things like that.
Because you'd be hitting the over for most of those, wouldn't you?
But yeah, you select few players, you might choose 3 and you might get some pretty good odds to.
Well, you
have a bit
put
of a
2 of
punt.
them together, you're sitting about what's that, 360 or something like that. I think it is 380. I've gone a 3-leg same game multi pairs. 2 of mine are all based around the Brisbane being the top clearance side and GWS just giving away the clearances. They as I said, they sit 17th in clearances and number 1 for giving away, which is an odd stat because they give away the most, but they are sitting 17th. So I don't know how that works, but must be the opposition. The way that they give it away or whatever, I'm not really sure. So I've gone 3 legs, as I said, 15 or more disposals for your man, Will Ashcroft. He's top 4 in clearances for Brisbane. He's number 3rd best contested player as well there. So I think he gets a lot of that sort of stuff.
I say this every week about Will Ashcroft. Easily my favourite player to watch in the AFL. His touch,
It's so elite.
That millisecond that he has when he gets the ball and he's about to be tackled, I reckon he's the best in the league at it.
Yeah, and he's took a little time to get going. That slow start in terms of accumulating possessions, but that touch around the ball, he looks elite already, and he's starting to find his place in that midfield.
There's a lot of talk about Sheasel taking over him for the Rising Star. I'd still have Will Ashcroft over him because he plays a harder position in the midfield, and the impact that he's had with that Brisbane midfield has been elite. And I know Sheasel's played really well at half-back. It's easier to get possessions there. He takes a lot of kick-outs, but I think for impact-wise and teams wins, Ashcroft above Sheasel for mine.
Yeah, well, when North Melbourne start to fade away a bit, them having those 3 early victories, sitting 2-1 early on and sitting top of the table, that also boosted the Sheasel market. So it's a good time to jump in actually, because both of them had reasonable sort of quiet games, but the better thing about Will Ashcroft is it was a quiet game, but you definitely realised that he saw his place. He knew his game plan, that fine touch around the ball, good place to jump in for Rising Star pairs, even that future betting. Anyway, so I've gone with 3 players, and 2 of the Brisbane players are the high clearance players. So I've gone with Will Ashcroft to get 15, Josh Dunkley to get 20. He sort of seems to be doing that week in, week out. And then I've gone, and I have to give props out to Trendy, so the at Trendbetter on Twitter. He put out a stat earlier in the week on Monday. He put a play out for Xavier O'Halloran. So for GWS, he had 14 last week. To get him 15 plus, you picked up him early in the week at 235. So Tom Green being out with that suspension. Last time he was out, so Tom Green, O'Halloran had 23 last year. Okay. So 23, the only time he was out last year, missed 1 game, and O'Halloran stepped in, boom, 23. And then the year before, the only times that O'Halloran went over 20 disposals, Tom Green was out both times, 21 and 22. So I originally did jump on because of Trendy, but then I looked a little bit further into the stats, and I think it absolutely screams value. For him to get 15, it's now come into $1.80.
Oh, they get crunched.
They get absolutely crunched.
As soon as he posts
you
something.
can get some real value, Pez, at him for 20 disposals. It sits at $4. So I'm actually really, really considering putting half a unit on there just for a little play, because the numbers all stack up. The 3 times he hasn't done it, boom, he's hit over 20. But obviously there's going to be some other players go through that midfield as well. So that's why I'm just sticking to 15. 3 legs with that one, Pez, $3.75 on Sportsbet. And I've put my bonus unit, 1 unit from last week, at $25 on that one.
You chuck that in. Cool. And then we head to GMHBA Alphabet Stadium on Saturday night.
Alphabet Stadium. And this is a really interesting one, Pez. Geelong make their way back home with the new redevelopments there. $1.39 favourites are the Cats, and Sydney coming back, trying to look for some revenge after grand final day. $2.92 outsiders, minus 16.5 is the line. That is creeping out, Pez. At the start of the week, that was sitting at 11.5. It's already jumped up 5 points, which is pretty massive. Over under 170.5. Pez, I'm really cautious about this one, being a Geelong supporter. I think that the form that Geelong's playing at the moment has been pretty inconsistent, and Sydney looked really good early against some poor teams. It's going to be a test for both teams to switch it on, I think.
Yeah, the odds here are a bit strange. So, as you said, Geelong $1.39 and Sydney up there, but I don't like either side, and I don't like the line in this one. So I've gone completely different to that. Sydney, against Melbourne at the MCG, they lost by 50 points. So is it a travel away from home thing? What is it? Who's going to be the better midfield? Who's going to get more opportunity going forward? I've got some disposals. I've actually put together a 5-leg same game multi, which I don't usually do, but I've gone with the tab special. So if 2 of these fail, I can get a bonus bet back. But 5+ legs, I've gone Jake Lloyd to get 20+. His lowest this year was 21, and that was against Melbourne when they destroyed them by 50 points. So if Geelong do win, like the odds say they will, the ball will be down there a lot. He'll take a lot of kickouts. They'll use him the way they play through the back line. So 20+ should be good for him. Callum Mills, 15+. His lowest of the year is 19. He's got 21+ in every other match so far. Zach Tui to get 15+. He only got 14 against West Coast, but the ball just wasn't down there enough, especially in that second quarter. So I think the same thing with Lloyd, they like to do with Tui down the other end. Now, he had a shocker, whichever game that was off the top of your head. I can't remember,
Hawthorn.
round 1 or 2. Hawthorn.
Oh, no, round 1 or 2 against Gold Coast.
Yeah, so absolute shocker for Tui.
He hasn't been playing good footy actually this year.
No, so I think he can get to 15, and Nick Blakey to get 15+ as well. He's got 19 twice, and that's his lowest for the season. And then McDonald for Sydney, anytime goal scorer this season in round order. He's kicked 2, 5, 1, 2, 1. What is he going to kick in round 6? Hopefully a goal. Altogether, that's $2.05. So a lot of legs to get to the $2.05. But if 2 of them fail, I can get a bonus back.
Bonus bet, Pez. Hopefully you get that. Pull that out the victory, Pez. Just like hopefully the Cats do. Just get the win. Don't worry about all the bonuses and all that sort of rubbish. Just get the win. I'm steering clear with this one, Pez. If I'm doing anything, I'm actually probably leaning the Sydney line, and that's hard to say as a pretty passionate Geelong supporter. But I think
that's rare from you.
I think that's where the money is. I think minus 14.5. Last time Sydney played Geelong last year, they knocked them off, and I think it's 2 out of the last 5 times playing at Alphabet Stadium. Obviously recognising where both these football clubs have been over the last 10 years, Sydney have actually done the job there. So the ground suits them. And I say this when Geelong are playing up in the SCG, not when they're playing at ANZ Stadium, but SCG, that suits them as well. Similar sort of ground dimensions. But yeah, I'm steering clear for this one, Pez, being a little bit cautious, and probably my heart's probably screaming out because of how Geelong's been playing. But just to be cautious and not throw my money away. But go Cats either way. All right, let's get on to the Sunday game. We head to UTAS Stadium, Hawthorn taking Adelaide. Hawthorn returning there. So it's been a little while since they've played at UTAS Stadium, but they're coming back there. A huge deal being released over there with the huge talks of a Tasmanian team coming in. So they're just getting all their sponsorship in there. They're just doing all the right things.
Too many teams.
I'll get rid of St Kilda then. All right, so Hawthorn come in as the outsiders, 375. The Crows, 126. Oh, Jesus. A frog in my throat then. Minus 23.5 is the line. Over under, 173.5.
Yeah, have a good
I'm having a good show, aren't I? Jesus, I think you kicked me under the desk then.
This one, Utah Stadium, you just don't know. 375 for the Hawks. They can't put consistent 4 quarters together. We know that they don't really want to win, or the higher ups at Hawthorn really want that number 1 pick. Adelaide seem to be everyone's pick for, to compete for top 4 and things like that. I saw them earlier in the year against GWS where they were just a little bit inconsistent, but on, was it Thursday night or Friday night against Carlton?
Thursday.
Geez, did they kick bullets around? And that's come from Jordan Dawson, the captain and the CEO and the owner of Adelaide. He kicks absolute gems. They don't go above 5 meters or 10 meters off the ground and just go directly where they need to go. I know Carlton weren't really defending, but the way they were bulleting that ball around, if they can move the ball like that against Hawthorn, geez, they'll have some easy shots at goal. But $1.26 is too low for me. Not enough information for the Sunday. You tip Adelaide easily here. But you just, I can't find any value in it at the moment.
No value in that one, Pez. I disagree. I think there's a heap of value with there. I think that Adelaide get the job done. Last time Adelaide played at Utah Stadium, they kicked 200 points. Do you know that?
200?
200 in terms of scoring. They absolutely piled it
it's
on.
with the other team?
With the other team.
I was going to say, it's just Adelaide.
No, not just Adelaide on their own. But they've been one of the highest scoring teams at UTAS Stadium over the last couple of years, the last 10, 15 years of the way they've been using it. York Park used to be what it was called, Pez. I was trying to, just a little bit of information for you. I was trying to find the stats on the venue and trying to work out what was going on. But
trying to impress the Tasmanians.
Trying to impress the Tasmanians there. I think this game is going to be actually a high-scoring game. I think, as you said, those bullets going around the ground really favour Adelaide. Hawthorn don't want to win. They may keep the game close for 3 quarters, but I think that Adelaide are in a good spot. It's another victory that they can easily rack up. They're on that they're coming. A lot of people have been talking about the comparisons between them and the 2017 Richmond side when they started to sneak up the ladder. I don't think it's quite them, but the style of football they're playing is the same. A couple of no-name forwards, Isaac Rankine going in there. I am absolutely struggling today, Pez. Isaac Rankine going into that forward line, really, boosting up the different ways they can hurt you. Tex Walker, Fogarty, him, those midfielders coming
Fogarty,
through.
He's the best kick in the league, set shot.
Yeah, extra long player. There you go. All right, but Adelaide's last 8 games over this season, obviously last season, a streak of 5 away games where they've gone over the total, and all 8 of those games, over 189, and Hawthorn's average total at the UTAS Stadium hits over the 166. So the last 10, 15 years that they've played there, over the 166 pairs. I've got an alternate total points line, over 164.5. I've gone with Ben Keys, your man, to get 15 or more disposals. I think he gets that job done. We can go through the stats, but 25 of the last 27. On fire with that one. And in a new role as well, so moving away from that midfield.
Yeah, he looked forward, tagging role.
Oh, he kicked a couple of beautiful snags in that first quarter. He looked really good. I've gone Jordan Dawson, our man, Adelaide's man, the reigning...
Jeez, his price is dropping, isn't it?
It's getting so low. But I've gone with him for 20 or more disposals. We know what he's done. And I've gone Rory Laird for 25 plus disposal pairs.
Thought you were going to say Sloane then.
No, because I backed the wrong Rory last week. That was my issue. I said that to you in a text. So I've gone 1 unit pairs with Ned's $2.09. So quite low odds for 4 legs, but I like the value in that one.
What happens these days with all these low disposal odds and things like that? And you could get Dawson for $1.25 plus a couple of weeks ago. He's down to what, $1.11?
$1.11. It's pretty terrible sort of odds for him to be getting 20 or more.
I thought you were going to go. I was just checking on Sportsbet there. Ranking to kick 2 plus goals $1.59. To kick 3 $2.90 against that Hawthorn defence.
Ooh, don't mind that one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not putting it on, but all right. Let's get on to. We can probably skip this game if you want, Pez. Carlton versus St Kilda, not really much to talk about. $2.10 favourites are outsiders are the Blues. St Kilda $1.75 favourites. -3.5 is the line. Over under 160.5, Pez. I spoke to you about this in the pre-show. I'm a little bit not sure about this game. Obviously, if you go on form, you think that St Kilda in the form they've been in, that they get the job done, but Carlton have been that top 4 aspiration side. I've actually been raving on about Carlton for the last 2 seasons now. I'm surprised that they're sitting outsiders at $2.10.
Yeah, well, they didn't start outsiders, by the way. Earlier in the week, they were favourite. But this is probably one of the games of the week. First versus fourth. Carlton need to bounce back, and St Kilda did lose as well. So they need to come in and do something as well. But I think because Ahmed Saad is out with an injury, I think that hurts Carlton a little bit. The reason I tipped Carlton against Adelaide last week was all because of Carlton's forward line, but their defence with Wiedering and holding that up. But they didn't seem to man anything up. And I think if St Kilda play the same way that they did last week and just, force Carlton to bomb it in long like they did against Adelaide, they can really defend and really run the other way. They've got Wilkie and Howard who will take care of Mackay and Curnow, so they'll be, tagged to them. And go from there. Steele coming back in. I don't know if it's underdone or first game, but he really makes that midfield a lot stronger as well. But because Kamenides suspended and he's gone out, I think Tim Membry will have to come in somewhat. He didn't play too well in the VFL last week, but they need that focal point, or they need that target up forward, because they've gone the little mosquito fleet at the moment with the Smalls putting in the pressure and kicking the goals. So it'll be a very defensive game for St Kilda. It'll be interesting to see how Carlton respond, but nothing from me. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy this one.
Yeah, it's definitely the game of the week, Pez. Nice Sunday afternoon time slot. You'd be loving that one. I'm really unsure about that. I guess if I'm looking from a value point of view, I don't mind Carlton, 1-39, 255. I asked you about the forwards, and when I was listening to the radio earlier in the week about who plays on who, I liked your vision of planning of attack of who goes to who, and but I don't know if that's what's going to pan out. So I'm a little bit worried that the Carlton forwards can get off the leash a little bit. And, if Harry Mackay's kicked 4 goals in the last 4 or 5 at Marble, and Curnow, he's kicked 4 in all of his games the last 2 years.
So the listeners know what you're talking about. I said I would put Wilkie on Mackay, because Mackay usually stays closer to home and Curnow's up the ground at the 70-metre mark. And you want Wilkie to be that solid defender down there. He's really good one-on-one. And Dougal Howard can get a little bit exposed one-on-one. So you'd prefer him losing the contest 60, 70 metres out to Curnow then 30 metres out, Harry Mackay, where he just, does that left foot snap and kicks some goals. So that's what I'm hoping for and looking for. We'll see what Ross the Boss thinks.
Ross the Boss thinks, and it'll be very interesting there, Pez, what happens.
You'll have the right answer.
Because I think it's a crucial matchup, and obviously a lot of work will go into that forward line and trying to defend for St Kilda, and if they can do it, then they put themselves at a great shot. But I have reservations about that back line. I think there's a range of different injuries out with Carlton at the moment that give St Kilda that little bit of edge.
One other forward that's impressed me for Carlton, Corey Durden.
Yeah.
He is a very opportunistic player, and he just knows the right spot to be in. So I think St Kilda needs to put in some time to that, because if they do bomb it him forward and the ball hits the ground, I think Durden is a very good goal sneak.
Yeah, as I said, they've looked really good, that forward line. I saw it firsthand against Geelong, and they were disappointing against Adelaide last week outside of that first quarter. But as soon as that first quarter went, they sort of just scored at will for that second and third quarter, and obviously the game had already taken the air out of it. That fourth quarter, they Adelaide kicked away a bit, but I like the value at probably 1-39. 255 for Carlton, but I think if you go either way, Carlton or St Kilda, the game's not blowing out. You get $2.23, $2.50 for both sides, so that's where I'd be leaning, Pez, but no official bet for me in this game.
And we'll see if you put something out on Twitter at Behind the Bound on Sunday. We head to HBS Sauce.
We do.
Heritage Bank,
the Gold Coast Suns, where they've got the music going and the chimes in the background every time a goal's
Oh yeah, it gets in your head, doesn't it? Especially when there's no crowd there as well.
It would have been a deafening sound there last week, and they were piling it on those first two quarters. Gold Coast taking on North Melbourne, of course. $1.22 favourites are the Suns. North Melbourne $4.35, -24.5 is the line, and the over under 164.5. Pez. This used to be the Covenant wooden spoon battle, but North Melbourne have been shown some promising signs this year, and Gold Coast, they're the same team as they were when they entered the league, just aiming for that 8th spot. But what happens in this game?
Well, a very important player to Gold Coast is Jared Witts, and he's named to come back in, so that's very important for them. Jai Simpkin got an injury last week as well, so he'll be out for North Melbourne. But $4.35 is way too big a price for North Melbourne. But I spoke about it earlier in the show. Gold Coast tend to play a decent first half. They were a draw with Essendon 72-all at three-quarter time and then fell away. So I'd be looking, I'm not putting anything down yet because it is too far away, but I'm looking at something in the second half line for a North Melbourne plus. So North Melbourne, plus 11.5 or something in the second half, or maybe even third quarter only. Something along those lines. So just want to see the final teams. Jared Witts will make a huge difference to that anyway, but $1.22 for a side like Gold Coast that you can't trust to hold a lead even if they get a hold of you early, it's way too low.
It is a really interesting one, that one, Pez. I was just trying to find the line for you. Third quarter only is +6.5 for North Melbourne, $1.89.
Yeah, so something along there. Yep.
Yeah, but I think I kind of agree with what you're saying. $4.30 is a huge price for North Melbourne, considering that they've been in pretty good form this year, and they've had probably more of a consistent, well-rounded football. Take out a quarter here and there.
The 75 points last week hurts.
But there was only one. That was only one quarter of footy. That was that second quarter where Brisbane piled it on. Otherwise, they've been pretty well rounded, and I think the +24.5 is actually a nice little line there for North Melbourne. As you said, Gold Coast struggling to put fourth quarters together as well.
Or halfway during the second quarter when Gold Coast are leading by 3 goals. You can get
jump on the live.
+40.5, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And that's probably what I'll look at doing, Pez. I'm doing no official bet here. I'd be leaning the +24.5. I don't mind that action, the third quarter +6.5, or as you said, the second half only line.
I was looking at some other bets. The quarter by quarter leader.
Yeah.
And very tempted to go, Gold Coast to lead at quarter time, Gold Coast to lead at half time, and then North Melbourne. And it's somewhere around, I think, I don't know if you find it, $34 or something like that.
Won't be able to find it that fast, Pez. I can barely get the normal.
I think it's $34. So if you wanted to have a real gamble, something like that.
Yeah, $34 is definitely a real gamble, Pez, but no official play for us in that. But there's some good advice in terms of that live bet if you're watching and they get out to a bit of a lead there, depending how North Melbourne are obviously playing, because they don't seem to be a team so far that's dropped their heads. They seem to keep battling and pushing, and they're well coached. Jump on that live second quarter / third quarter line. Right, we jump onto the Monday football pairs. Probably one of the reasons that we don't have a game on the Thursday night. But
yeah, it's okay for this round.
That's what I'm saying. This round's fine, but the next 7 weeks, disappointing. All right, Melbourne taking on Richmond. This will be at the G. This will be an absolute classic. $1.30 favourites are the D's. Tigers, absolutely hit with injuries. 355 outsiders, minus 23.5 is the line. Over under 174.
Yeah, they're struggling. Like they were in that game as well last week.
They really were.
And then they just fell away. Like Rewalt stood up, kicked 4 goals. Shai Bolton tries to do everything he can to try and get that side going, but it just didn't happen. Jaden Short may come back in this week. We thought he was in last week, but he didn't end up playing. So he'll be in. Spargo got an injury last week, and they're looking to make some changes. Max Gawn on that ins list is an interesting one as well, to get the Gawn and Grundy back. And I think Grundy will be looking at a lot of film this week on how to defend his man if his man goes inside the forward 50. You know how to defend him? Don't stand 15 metres away from him. That would be a start. But,
maybe follow him. Identify who your man is.
The Tigers, probably one of the most inconsistent teams this year. They kicked, 9 in a row against the Dogs in the second quarter the other week, and then they ended up losing the game. You had last week where they, came back into the game and then just fell away and lost by 44 points in the end to Sydney. So you just can't trust anything with Richmond at the moment. The teams look like there's going to be a lot of changes. So we'll wait and see what the changes are and see what the price is. But $1.30, a bit low from Melbourne, travelling back. They're a lot better side at the MCG, and they should get the job done against Richmond. But Richmond do have that fight, and they can pile on the goals really quickly.
Yeah, Melbourne last week looked pretty untidy, unclean, but their stars still got their stats. With Gawn coming back in, that'll be a big improvement. You can start to that experiment again more, which we said was a pretty successful experiment. The 2 ruckmen, you can now have that sort of flexibility in the ruck. Richmond, who's going to be named? Like they're strapped with injuries. It's too early to make a call with this one. I would probably, only on stats alone, Pez, be leaning Melbourne 1-39. The last 7 out of the 8 Richmond losses that they've had have all been 1-39. So they sort of keep it close. They hang around enough because they do have enough talent there to sort of keep the job done. But they need the reps in these players to play together to integrate, Taranto, and to integrate who's the other bloke, Hopper, to get them integrated in there, and but they just haven't had the cattle on the field.
Yeah, they've got massive deals, those two, and they just need to get the ball and use the ball a bit better. And I think that might have been the problem at GWS and the reason they fell away, because they got a lot of the pill. They're not using it too well here at Richmond.
And we kept saying it, Pez, it was coaching, it was maybe it's got too many stars, but maybe actually the talent alone is that they weren't as fine and chiseled as of kick. Taranto, he butchers the ball a lot.
He just bombs it up in the air. He needs to hit his targets a lot better. I think Rewalt's been playing really well, and without Lynch, you could look at him for 2+ again, or 2+, 3+, depending how you want to look at it there. But Melbourne, maybe Fritsch for a few goals, something like that on Monday night. We've got to look at the weather as well. So
it's too early to tell with that one.
We'll wait and see.
Speaking of too early to tell, we go on to Anzac Day Tuesday. This will be an absolute classic. This will be great. As I said, the first time in a long time that both teams are, and I use inverted commas here as Essendon fans, relevant. Watch that cop some absolute flack. Both teams 4-1. Collingwood $1.47. Essendon $2.67. Minus 14.5 is the line. Over under 172.5. This will be an absolute cracker, Pez. There'll be a heap of people there. Anzac Day is always such a 50-50 game, no matter where these teams are placed on the ladder. Really interested to hear your thoughts about this one.
Yeah, looking at the top 8, the team most likely to miss the finals from here is probably Essendon. 4 wins.
We copped a lot of hate on TikTok, and all you're doing is doubling down, aren't you? I mean, I am too, but like I said, I believe that they're not going to make the 8 either. But
I'm not. Yeah, well, 4 wins is pretty handy, and I think they've got a couple of games coming up against like Hawthorns and the West Coast, so they'll get close. They'll
hit their over. Their over was 8.5.
Need to have a couple more upsets along the way here, and Collingwood is one of those. So it's always seems to be close, no matter where they are in the ladder. But you look here. 2v3 after 5 rounds of footy. Pretty exciting. Bombers fans up and about. Collingwood fans up and about. There's going to be an absolute sellout crowd. The disappointing thing, you got Adams, who's been suspended for a week, and Merritt suspended for a week. So that will hurt both midfields. Who will it hurt more? I think it might actually hurt the Bombers more, because Merritt has been using the ball pretty well when he gets it on the outside. So I think you can replace Adams' role in Collingwood, and it's a role v role thing. But Collingwood do need some tall to come in to try and take on the Essendon ruckman, because Draper absolutely killed him last week, 3 goals in that first half. So you need to curtail him and keep him out of that 50, or actually put a body on him inside the 50 and go from there. So Anzac Day, it'll be a great spectacle to watch, as it always is. and we'll wait and see who can come out on top.
It's going to be a cracker. It's going to be a lot of passion involved. They're two of the loudest supporters base when they're actually winning, Pez. So
Collingwood are loud all year round.
Yeah.
Essendon fans only come out when they win, but we know that.
Just potting these Essendon fans, Pez. I don't think there's any left anyway, but there's too many factors that you need to wait and see with this. The teams need to be announced. As you said, there's a potential of who comes in and who goes out. Collingwood have been hit with injuries as well. Like it's a game that it's too early to call. I like the look of the line right now, minus 12.5. That's already come in. It started at minus 14.5. I don't mind the line at $1.90, obviously, but I think that's quite low. But I need to see the teams. I need to see the weather. You just can't tell. It's almost 6 days away. Like it's so far away. Like
you could pretty much say it's in round 7.
pretty much. Right. So I'd probably be leaning the Collingwood line minus 13.5. I think it's minus 12.5, which has dropped, which is good for my notes. But no official play in that one, Pez, for me.
Yeah, no, we'll keep it out there and see if we, chuck something down later in the round. But that sums it up. We've got a couple of those to go out at Behind the Bound on Twitter. It'll be there on our Google Docs spreadsheet there, and a couple of videos might go up on TikTok as well, and see how you go there.
They definitely will, Pez. Have you got any multis or cheekies going? So I've got one more multi that I'm going to put down, and I just realised I hadn't had the odds there. So have you got any cheekies that you're going to go put for the round? Or
well, my cheekiest one would be Finlayson 5+, $11.
Nice. That is very cheeky.
That's what I'd go as a cheeky. Marshall's paying about $7.50 or $8 for 5 as well. So if you think one of those is going to do it without Dixon against depleted West Coast, that's probably where I'd go.
Nice. So I've got one. I've just put a multi down for the round. No specials, no nothing. I think just the 3 interstate sides: Fremantle, Brisbane, and Adelaide. I like the value there. Sportsbet Power played that one, $3.09, 1 unit on that one, Pez. I think.
Geez, you're going to be disappointed after tonight when the doggies get up and about.
Fremantle will come back home. It's a good spot for them. Bad spot for the Dogs, and I like Fremantle in that one. $1.80. Can't pass that up.
I was trying to get a multi together to use the Ladbroke special, but I just couldn't choose. I couldn't choose 4 teams just to go, you know what, they're definitely going to win.
I couldn't think of the 4th team. So, I think Brisbane and Adelaide are pretty good priced. $1.32, $1.26.
If you like those other 3, Port Adelaide are probably going to beat West Coast.
You get no value for it. You
get a free hit bonus bet, maybe.
No, but there's no need to, Bez.
Well, you might need it when the Bulldogs win, as I said.
No, why are you so... When are you ever on the Bulldogs? Why? I hate the Bulldogs, so that's why.
Tonight we're on the Dogs.
All right, so if you want a winning tip, jump on Sauce's tip there, Fremantle, and you will be thanking me tomorrow morning with a couple of green ticks in your account.
All right, that's Friday afternoon Behind the Boundary pod from us. What are you typing at me for?
I wasn't typing, I was flicking off.
Typing an air keyboard in there. That's on video as well.
I was playing piano.
What are you trying to say?
I've had an absolute shocker of a show.
You've had a mare. I'm Pez. Peace out.
Oh, you're not going to tell the fans about our...
No, because I don't know what this means.
I was trying to give your attention, but make sure you jump on our Twitter, Pez, at Behind the Bound. Leave us a 5-star review on all our good podcast listeners. And I'm still Sauce. Pez is already gone. He stood up and left. I'm still Sauce. We'll catch up next time.
Now you're gone.